buddy Dylan Lee. We're actually going to be installing some parts from the Hungry Diesel on my truck, and we're going to show you what's going on and walk you through the process. Okay, so we're going to start off with the lift pump, transfer pump, whatever you want to call it, and Dylan's going to walk us through the process. He's done this before. He's a little bit more knowledge in it, so yeah, check her out.
Hey everyone, this is the Hungry Diesel kit for a high volume, low pressure transfer lift pump. It's block mounted. It replaces your factory lift pump that fails all the time and doesn't supply much fuel. So in the Hungry Diesel kit, we have, it includes everything you need for install here. There's a spacer you need to install with gaskets on each side that mount to the block. You retain your factory bolts. Have new gaskets here for your banjo bolt on your fuel filter housing, and this is a new line that is from your supply from your transfer pump to the fuel filter head.
So we're going to be removing the charge air piping and the throttle bracket so we can access the lift pump, and Dylan's going to get going on that here. And what are we using? That's a 7/16 socket.
Yeah.
To pull off the clamps. And for the throttle bracket on the side of the engine block is what size?
13 and a 10.
13 and a 10. Okay, there you go. So 13 mil and a 10 mil to get those off.
Save all your nuts there.
Right there, and down right there. Just the two. Once you get those two nuts off, it just slides right off the studs. Boom, just like that, right out of the way. So you got some nice access. Okay, so we got the charge air piping out of the way. You're going to want to do that because it's going to be a pain in the butt if you do not.
So now we're just pulling our supply line to our fuel filter head from our lift pump off. We're going to reuse this banjo bolt, so keep this. That's important. And pull our supply line off from our pump.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe restart that.
We're having technical difficulties here, folks. Just a moment.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes take on what it's like to be a mechanic. That line's toast.
Is it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Mangle the line a little bit. It was in there pretty good. You're gonna fight with it a little bit, especially if it's gonna be a factory one. The kit comes with a new one. It's not identical, but at least you don't have to worry about putting this crap back in it.
So this is a factory fuel line like supply from your tank. They're kind of terrible to get out. You got these two little clips here in the back. You got to compress them together, and then you'll just be able to pull backwards like this. Usually they're not too bad, but you get the odd one that's just very, very stubborn.
Okay, so now we're just gonna pull off the factory mounting bolts to remove the pump off the engine block. Uses a 10 mil deep socket and a small extension. You should be able to get in there, no issue. There you go. So that's off.
There's our little buddy right here.
There it is. That is your factory lift pump, transfer pump, whatever you want to call it. You will need to keep the fitting. That is one part you'll have to keep and move it on to your new one.
This is going to install here on your new pump.
The larger plug. To get that out of there, you're going to need a 11/16 and a 9/16 wrench, and she should come out no problem. Alright, so once you get the pump off, you're going to want to get a scraper and scrape off all the old remnants of the gasket that was on there before, because if you do not, you will have leaks on the new gasket. She's nice and shiny. That's how you want it. You do not want to use air tools on that machine surface. Absolutely not. You got to remember that goes straight into your engine block, and you're going to get little metal shavings and pieces of your gasket inside there, and that's a no-no. So you want it to look like that. So like we said before, you're going to be reusing your factory bolts. Now the way this goes with your gaskets is you're going to want to put one gasket down first. Just get the bolts out. Okay, that works. And then you got your spacer. That's going to go on like that. And then you got your one more gasket. And you're going to bolt it to your engine block, and it's going to look just like this. In order for this to work properly, you're going to have to trim back the insulation that runs parallel to your tappet cover, just because the top part of the pump is actually hitting it, so you got to clear a little bit of that out. Okay, so it is mounted to the block now. We're going to run the lines and plumb everything in. Now you're going to install your banjo bolt with your new seal washers and put your line into the filter housing. Alright, so to install your fuel inlet from your tank, you're going to want to use some type of thread sealant. I have Permatex thread sealant. And you're just going to want to put a nice little thin layer on there. Make sure you get them in the threads nice and good. Make sure it seals. Clear off any excess off the face of it. And you're going to want to thread it right in there. And that is exactly how it should look. Completely installed. And you can see how you had to trim back the insulation to make that fit. So now we're going to do the fuel pin. You're going to want to remove this banjo bolt, and when you're doing that, make sure you're very careful with your 12 mil to pull this bolt out, because there's going to be a small little washer on the inside here you cannot lose, because it will leak if you install it without it. Once you get your banjo bolt out of the way, what you're going to want to do is remove your AFC housing. Now, it is held down with these bolts here that have a flathead slot in them. They're actually not very good because they tend to break off the side, and makes it obviously harder to get them off. So you want to replace it with a hex style bolt like that. I don't have enough to do that today, but it is on my list. But that's what they look like, and it's going to make a world of difference when you have to remove this. All right, so once you get all your bolts out, you remove the AFC cover, and this is what it's going to look like. So you got this little plunger style set up here. There's a spring underneath. You just pull it out like this, and there's your fuel pin. So this was a BD diesel fuel pin, but I am replacing it with a Hungry Diesel, the Hungry Diesel fuel pin. And so basically what you do is you remove this little nut here that slides out. You make sure you do not drop that washer.
We're gonna put our throttle shaft all back together. Now, I should mention this before we go in. Now, this has played me a couple times. See how this pushes down? Make sure this is out, or these little teeth here won't catch on the inside of your little assembly here. See right here, these are all slotted. Those teeth have to catch that. Yeah.
So you can see there, we've got it lined up with our mark. She's good to go. We're almost done.
Our indexing is all right. Put our nut back on. And rip that down with our little 5/16 Allen socket. And we're not going crazy on any of this. This is all pretty intricate stuff there. So. Okay, so we're kind of at risk of a runaway here. I was playing with the max power screw in this, so we're probably going to have to adjust it a little bit. Always be aware, I mean, this is kind of a three-guy job. We got Eric in here on the key, got Blaine on the piece of wood to block off your inlet to your turbocharger to snuff out the engine, and I'll be running the pump. So Eric can start it. Right along. so we're just making sure we're going to be able to shut the truck down if we have a runaway. Okay, start it up again.